Hello, everybody. You've somehow found your way to the Armchair show once again. I'm Shayne,
I'm Jonas.
and today we're just gonna talk about some more random stuff from opposing positions. Maybe we're opposing on this topic or not. I don't
I
know.
know that it's an interesting one. I think we'll have different opinions on this one. I think
Yeah,
we will.
yeah. So clearly, you could tell we've already talked a little bit about what we're gonna talk about. But Jonas, today I
Mm-hmm.
would like to talk about the potential for human immortality.
Immortality. Okay.
Yes. I've recently watched a Netflix documentary
Oh, okay. This
called
I don't know about.
called the Immortalists.
Hmm.
Okay? It was really compelling, and of course the documentary is trying to like sell you on an idea,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So you
Yeah.
have to always watch these
Every
things.
documentarian has a viewpoint and a
Yeah.
bias, of
Yeah.
course.
But there was basically two stories about these two guys currently attempting to achieve human immortality.
Okay.
And both believed without a shadow of a doubt that they were going to pull it off.
Okay. So what makes these guys different from just some random, the random guy alone in his house, who's waiting for the comet to make him immortal?
Yeah. Well, one of the really interesting sort of modern phenomenon about this is like, actually, I feel like it's worth noting that Gilgamesh of the Sumerian people,
Okay.
the very first like fictional hero
Yeah.
of human recorded history, right?
Uh-huh.
His goal was immortality.
Hmm.
So it's very much
It's something that's been kind of a part of human desire,
Yeah.
and kind of that, I was like, to say it's a holy grail seems like pulling another
I know.
another
It's
mythical
appropriate.
thing, but
Yeah.
one of these things that humans have always dreamt of and kind of
Yeah.
sought after,
Yeah.
which makes sense. It goes along with the same idea of not wanting to, that the fear of death and not knowing what comes after, and
Mm-hmm.
if you feel that this is all there is, and you want to extend this as much as it is, and true immortality is a word.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really fascinating to think that the humans, since they've been able to create fictional stories, that the ultimate goal for the first big hero, Gilgamesh, was immortality. So we've been thinking about this for a very long
A
time.
very long time, sure.
Um,
So, do we have anything new to add? I guess.
yes.
All right.
Now we have science. And we have a real chance. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say I think it's possible.
Okay.
And that it could be done. That it's not possible yet.
Okay.
But we very well may end up being the first and oldest of all humans for the rest of time. Like you and I sitting here now may have the opportunity to do that.
Okay. Well, and I think this goes to a key thing that I definitely wanted to cover and make sure we get across, which is how do we define immortality, right? Because there's kind of the classical definition of this body and person that I am
Yeah.
existing forever,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I'm like never aging, I guess. But especially when technology comes into the mix, are there other options there?
Okay. I think there are multiple forms.
Okay.
The form I'm specifically starting off with, and what this the Immortalists documentary is talking about,
Okay.
was dialing back our genes to a certain age and living forever at that age.
Huh.
Yeah. I know.
Okay.
It's really crazy.
My mind's kind of twisting over that one.
So on a scientific level, right? This basically what's going on with aging is that there's a section of our chromosomes on the very end called a telomere
Okay.
or telomeres. I've heard it pronounced lots of different
Yeah,
things.
I think I've heard it both ways, but
Okay.
I've heard of these. Yes.
And I may not. By the way, I may not have all the science exactly correct in my brain because I
Sure.
don't have any show notes in front of me.
Yeah.
So any of our listeners who have the proper definitive science on this, it would be lovely if you could email us at thearmchairshow@gmail.com and set the record straight, and we'll cover it again. But basically, on a very zoomed out level,
Yeah. What the
these
core
telomers-
ideas?
Yeah, these telomers are theoretically our age limits. And so like creatures who have really short lifespans have really short telomers.
Okay.
And creatures who have really long lifespans, like sea turtles,
Okay.
have extraordinarily long telomers.
So like a fly is super short,
Yeah.
but like a tortoise has like this crazy long one.
Yes.
Okay.
And so these telomers seem to be tied into the number of times these cells can replicate.
Okay.
And aging and like the degradation of your body and your organs is coming because your cells have slowed down their rate of replication. And that's what's going on.
Okay.
And so these two scientists are taking completely different approaches to how to stop the telomers from shortening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the idea is that's what changes is they shorten over time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they
So obviously if
theorize,
it's longer, then you have more time for it to shorten.
right.
Okay.
They theorize that it's very plausible that hypothesize that it's really plausible that they could do something about that issue and stop telomers from shortening, because there are creatures in nature that have this ability. The shark is an example of a creature who a lot of its organs, the reason why it's like immune to diseases and stuff like that, is a lot of the organs, not all of them in the body, but a lot of them don't have this effect when their cells replicate.
Huh.
It's yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah,
that's really weird,
right? So, anyways, one of the guys is this really interesting, eccentric, like, I don't know, Jim Carrey type,
okay,
like really cool dude, but like pretty weird, in a entertaining way, and he's kind of going at it at a more chemical level. He thinks that there's something like if you apply such chemical to this, it'll solve this problem.
Okay.
And the other guy is going at it at a very like gene therapy. The code that says that the telomers must shorten has to be written somewhere.
Okay.
So with CRISPR gene editing, you should be able to rewrite that code to stop it from happening. It's his method that I'm really excited about because it seems reasonable. That's like, it's got to be written somewhere.
So the first guy's just trying to basically develop like a medicine.
Yeah.
But the other one's like changing the gene directly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And gene editing is new, but it's really promising. And definitely a topic for another episode because we could talk about that for a while.
Sure.
The ethical questions.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was already thinking of that, and then I'm like, that's a whole nother thing. That,
we could trail off forever.
Are you even human anymore? But let's go. That's a whole
Ooh, good one.
Yeah, that's a whole different side of it. So, but for the sake of argument, we'll just say it's doable. That it's ethically fine. In like the treatment in itself is ethically fine, just for the sake of argument.
Okay.
And that you remain a human of some sort.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, basically, my point in describing how close we are is just to say that we may have that choice soon. So, should we make that choice?
Well, that's an interesting one. Well, because especially when I was first thinking about this, right? One of the questions that immediately came to my mind is the question of do we have the ability to change our minds later on, right? Is this like, in mythology and stuff, right? We talk about these fables and things. Often the person gets that and like drinks the potion or whatever, gets the immortality, and then they're just immortal forever.
Yeah, that's the cautionary tale,
right? Yeah.
Do you really want that?
Do you really want that? And that's kind of the two sides. Is do we get a choice to then? Okay, you know what? I've decided I've lived long enough. I've done all I want to do. I'm ready to let myself go and see whatever happens.
Yeah, I don't think you would. So first off, I think you probably could turn it off. If you could turn it on, it's reasonable that you could turn it off. But secondly, immortality and indestructibility, I think, are two different things.
That's a fair point. Yeah, because this is just your organs not shutting down of their own accord.
You very well could.
If you got shot, you'd still be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's that stinks.
Okay.
You're just your telomers aren't going to affect that, of course.
Yeah.
But I almost distracted myself just now thinking like, medical science is really advancing too. It's
Sure.
very possible that there's nothing that could happen to us that we couldn't recover from at some point in the future.
Well, I mean, that's what all those people cryogenically frozen are hoping for, right?
That's true.
They froze themselves with the hope that someday one will figure out how to thaw them out. But yeah, solve every medical problem.
Before we go further on the topic, we should just establish.
Okay.
I would absolutely choose immortality if given the opportunity.
Okay.
What would you do?
Perhaps temporary immortality.
Ooh, so like longer, like extended lifespan.
An extended
maybe.
lifespan, yeah. I definitely don't think I would accept true immortality where I will live forever, and barring like suicide or something, that I'm going to just continue existing. I don't think I'd take that.
So is that decision based on something other than your faith, or is it about your faith?
Partially about my faith, obviously. I mean, obviously, I think that there's something after death, right? And so to just never go, never see that part seems like depriving me of something. But I also just, I'd want to know, even if I'm wrong. I'd kind of want to know.
Interesting.
And to just exist.
I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah, just to exist forever. It feels like eventually it would become a burden.
Yeah, life is a bit of a grind.
Well, life is a bit of a grind. I mean, how long can my retirement really last?
Yeah, but you're like interested in wanting to know is this very same thing that's driving my wanting to be more immortal.
Okay.
Because
why is that?
I feel like the potential of human progress is like so endless and amazing that we can't even grasp it with our modern current minds. I want to see how far we can go. I think maybe my fandom of Doctor Who has given me like this like extra sci-fi-ish pride in humanity, but I really think I want to see if there's somebody else out there. I want to see if we can like foster some sort of peace and learn from each other, grow from that. Like there's so much. I also want to know if we are alone in the universe, and we're not going to be able to know that until we figure out the technology to go there. And if humanity doesn't destroy itself someday, we will inevitably venture to the stars.
Oh, I completely agree with that.
We'll figure out.
Yeah, it's just something that will continue to progress, right? Technology does that, and there's definitely an interest. I mean, just in colonization, if nothing else. But those things are only going to get better. I mean, the amount. I mean, you think about this: the total amount of human history, and how quickly we went from airplanes to reaching the moon to sending drones to Mars. I mean, it's
such a short amount. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's only gonna progress. So no, I completely get that, and I can appreciate that as well. I wonder though. If you lived long enough, would it start to change your moral character? If you start to think in the terms of, you see nations rise and nations fall and technology advance and all these things happen, I think I'm thinking to like, you see vampires or even Lord of the Rings, you have the Ents, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like
very apathetic.
These things come and go. There's always another thing to fight.
Yeah.
We'll just wait it out. Would you get to the point when you're just like, I mean, what's another 50 years till this crisis rolls over? I don't really have to worry about it anymore.
Dang, that's true. I think that is I could almost see being like getting impatient and kind of pissed. Like, dude, I've been alive for 300 years. How have we still not whatever it is that you're like hoping to see? And that could almost turn you like kind of jaded and like start bringing you into the dark side almost. You have a valid point. That's an interesting question. I had never thought about that.
Because that if nothing else, it's just even that like you just like, even if it's not like darkness, I can just see it, like you said, kind of apathy, just like you just don't care anymore, right? You become like the ultimate grumpy old man, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it all, you know, back in my day, back in, 300 years ago, like, things really matter. Now you guys are all hopped up on the holovids or whatever, and
Dang, that's true. That may end up being like, I wonder if there would be this inevitable age everybody would get to where they get that, and they're like, all right, turn my tolerance back on.
yeah.
I'm just like, there might be a max just out of pure like inevitable apathy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting question. I wonder what that age would be. I would. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because we evolved to experience life in the time frame that we're all used to. In fact, we're living far past our current like evolutionary frame of mind. But dang, that's a really good one. And you could almost probably argue that immortality isn't possible because of that potential inevitability. I don't know.
So you mean in essence not possible just because no one would want it?
Yeah.
Not like it would be physically impossible, but
there's so much research being conducted about humans traveling far distances in space. How much can they handle being in this confined group of people for 9 months or something? Well, how much can people handle being in confined planet for how many hundreds of years?
True.
Too. I mean, it's a much grander scale, but we're talking about a bigger time frame too.
Yeah. Well, I imagine there's always the like you always think of like the artist who's like, I must make the grand painting because that's the true way I'm going to live on, right? Whose whole goal is to leave something of himself behind,
Yeah.
whether he thinks he's so wonderful or whatever, right? I always imagine there'd be at least a few of those people who would be like, no, I'm gonna live forever because I'm so great that the world wouldn't know what to do without me.
Yeah, I would like to think my own curiosity could do that for me, but man, now that you mention that, I'm like thinking like, dang, I feel, if I'm just honest with myself, I would get impatient. But yeah, you're right. Like, people want to like leave a legacy.
Yeah.
Oh, that brings up another question. I feel like people wanting to leave a legacy is often the motivator of like behind ambition.
Okay. That's true.
I wonder if the apathy would leak into ambition. People would just be like, what's the point of building a giant empire if it's just what doesn't mean anything?
Or like, or just like the ultimate procrastination, right? I've got eternity, I'll do it eventually.
Oh my god, that is the ultimate procrastination. I literally have forever to do this.
I mean, it would change the landscape of a lot of things. I mean, would people still form families and have kids as often?
Dang. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Because, I mean, because then you really start to run the risk of overpopulation, which I guess isn't a problem, but then you have a lot of people starving but kind of living.
Yeah. I think, like, economic infrastructure-wise, if you're talking about modern times,
sure,
it's just about
that's a whole nother level.
Yeah. But if
if
immortality was, like, readily available, overpopulation is inevitable.
Yeah, of course.
We'd have to be starfarers. And colonialization...
Or have actual, like, legal limits on things like that.
Yeah.
On, like, children.
Jeez, there's a lot of... This is a big can of worms.
Yeah. So let's scale it back then. Let's not go that far out. Let's bring it back to just, personal experience, right?
All right.
Like,
all right.
say you could be the only one, or like you and a select handful, right? Yeah, like I said, I still don't think I would do it. I think I would. I appreciate my time on here on Earth. I want to experience. I'm definitely not in any rush to wrap it up anytime soon. But like just like how, and so I definitely would think I'd extend it if I could, just like I would, if I had some medical issue and I'd go to the doctor, right? And let them handle it. But I think there'd come a point where I'm like, you know what? I've lived a good life, especially if other people aren't living forever, and I've seen my kids grow up or whatever. It's like, you know what, I'm ready to move on myself.
Yeah, you often hear it so much that like people that are sort of on their deathbeds, it's unfathomable at this age and health, but you hear them like, I'm ready to go. I'm just ready.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is motivated by like it's really unpleasant to be that old.
That's probably part of it.
Or if there really is some mental acceptance of that, and you're just like, okay, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's where my psychology background comes in a little bit. I know that, from an Erik Erikson point of view, we have these different, what they call crises throughout our life at different points.
Real quick, who's Erik Erikson?
Erik Erikson is I think he was a psychologist. Real classic guy, worked in human development. And so his theory, the theory he's most known for anyway, is the different crises throughout life. So when you're first born, it's trust versus mistrust, right? If I cry, will someone come and take care of me and change my diaper and feed me, showing me that I can trust the world? Or are my caretakers not around, or it's not and it's really inconsistent? In which case, I can't trust the world to meet my needs, right? And then stages all the way out through all the way to the end of life. And late adulthood, or older adults, it's what they call generativity versus despair, I think it is. But essentially it's the idea of, as they look back on their life, because they've lived so many years, they're wearing out. Do I feel satisfied with the life that I've led? Do I feel positive about the choices that I've made? Or do I look back and with regret and despair, wishing I had done more, that I missed out on certain things? I think you hit a point when especially just because maybe this would change with it, but I think because of the cycle of life, when you're getting into those older years, you're not looking to have kids, you're not looking to start a new relationship or these kind of things.
True.
So you're just kind of like, things have slowed down. So then you just kind of naturally look back over your life.
Yeah.
But that might be different if you could be immortal at, the biological age of 30.
Yeah. Yeah, because, a lot of those thoughts could be motivated by the fact that, okay, I'm nearing the end of the book now. I'm about to close it. It's kind of an interesting question. So you just kind of touched on another thing about reaching immortality when you're 30 and staying 30. If you could dial your genes back, though, to a certain age.
What age would it be?
Yeah, what age would you be?
Maybe like 27.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe this is my already old manness at 32, but looking at like 20-year-olds and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, gosh, you look so young.
That's true.
So I wouldn't want to be like 21 or 22 or something like that. That looks too young to me. I'd want to at least be 28. Look like a full-grown adult,
Yeah.
But not over that hump where it's like, my shoulders kind of hurt these days.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I would choose. What about you?
Yeah. Like 21.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was the healthiest, the fittest and stuff. I think if you go back any further, the science will get really weird because it's not like you can regress in size.
True.
So there's some weird questions there.
Yeah.
And that just made me realize too. Yeah, because does your skeleton continue to grow? Because everybody's faces gets broader as they age for the most part, right?
Yeah. And your ears get longer and stuff.
It's a weird question. That's a good question to ask an immortalist.
Yeah, like if you stop the genes, would those things continue to alter?
No.
Would you still bald?
I don't know. I would like to know the answer to that question.
I was going to throw you under the bus, man.
It's alright. I got like 5 hairs, everybody.
It's not true.
I got 5 left.
Oh,
I got 2 on Homer Simpson.
Whatever.
Hey, my wife thinks I'm handsome. It's fine.
That's all.
I've accepted my fate.
That's the only person you need to prove to.
That's all that matters. Yeah, exactly.
So I want to throw another wrinkle into this.
Okay. Wrinkle away.
Yeah. So because we've been talking about this from the idea of, all right, altering our genetics, making our physical bodies the thing that survives, right?
Yeah.
Another way that people often think of a way they could live immortally in some form is if, we get the technology. Again, just let's say for the sake of argument, it totally works. That you could make a digital copy of your brain and your of all your memories and thought patterns and all that stuff. They could do that and essentially kind of download it into a computer. Would you want to do that as a way to kind of live on?
Okay. I have a point to bring up after my next little response to your question about that, okay?
Okay. I'll remember you have a point.
If, from my perspective, I can be like a computer program, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so, I mean, in this scenario specifically, you would still have a physical body, and then a digital version of you would also exist.
Yeah. Yes, I think I would.
Okay.
In fact, I think that would solve the problem of being apathetic, too. Because, full disclosure, we're gamers.
Yep.
Jonas and I.
Very much so.
So, we like to suspend our disbelief and to,
get lost in the world and imagination.
Yeah, exactly. We like to get immersed into these, fantastical worlds. It's very much, in our opinions, an art form.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and so, yeah.
I've cried at video games.
Me too. So, I would expect that if you had imagine you had the ability to just literally be these characters in these games and enjoy other people's, artistic creations, your life has become unlimited.
Interesting.
You're not just living within our own universe and existence now. You're living within an unending, unimaginable variety of experiences.
Okay, so that's interesting. I wasn't even thinking about that aspect of it, of what the virtual Shayne experience would be.
Yeah.
Of then that virtual you could, I suppose that makes sense. You could put yourself in a World of Warcraft type thing and for a time and truly exist in everything.
Because we know that our tastes in games ebbs and flows. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm super excited about a Western game coming out.
Sure,
but that's not the only thing I love. I'm psyched to spend a few months being this badass outlaw in the Old West.
Yeah,
you could do that.
Would that virtual you still be you?
That was going to be the second thing
I
was going to mention.
Because now there's real Shayne, there's biological Shayne, and virtual Shayne, and I mean theoretically, let's assume the technology's perfect, and this virtual Shayne can make his own decisions and stuff.
Yeah.
After that point of downloading, you guys go on two different paths.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's a really weird thing.
Right.
It's the same as if you teleport or download your consciousness. Is it you, or is it exact perfect copy of you?
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't have an answer for that. That's I want to. I hate to say this, but I feel like it's probably the copy. And nobody else would know it, either. That's the scariest thing.
Yeah.
If it's a perfect copy, nobody else would know it. If you downloaded yourself into this computer just now, and you cease to exist, if you did in this example, you would still respond to me like you're my buddy who I've known for so long.
Sure.
I'd have no way to know. Only you would know.
I thought it was terrifying.
It's really scary. Yeah. I wonder if there's a good sci-fi movie about that somebody has written.
I know there's a sci-fi game about that kind of
Is
stuff.
There?
Yeah. Soma touches on some of these things. Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
Or also there's the movie Prestige, which I know I know we watched way back when.
Dang, I love
which,
that
movie. Spoilers for a very, very old movie. So FYI.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen it, go watch The Prestige and skip the next 2 or 3 minutes. But in the movie, he's it's about a magician's rivalry, and it's this whole thing. But the point is that essentially, one of the characters, Hugh Jackman's character, hooks up with Tesla, and Tesla develops this device for him that lets him teleport magically across the room, and becomes this great magic show.
Yeah.
The thing you discover is it actually creates two of him. It actually creates a copy. So what he does is him that was on the stage drops into a water container and drowns himself. So every performance he ends up killing a exact copy of himself,
Yeah.
and you end up with all these bodies.
It was the original person that you see in the beginning of the act.
Yes.
So inevitably he kills himself, and his clone lives on.
Mm-hmm. I remember even there's a line there. He says, every time I do it, I'm worried I'm going to be the one who ends up in the water.
But that's so weird because he is.
He is the one who ends up in the water.
The guy in the water.
But it all about depends on perspective at that point, right? So is he killing even a real human being at that point? Is he even a real human being at that point?
Yeah. Or how about this weird idea? Is your existence meaningful because you're meaningful to someone else, or because you're experiencing existence?
I would say experiencing existence.
Me too.
Yeah.
Which means the whole cloning thing is a very big risk.
Yeah, no,
because you're going to stop. You're going to cease.
Yeah. Totally.
I don't know if I would be... There's no way to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
If that is the case or not. I don't think I would ever choose to be teleported or cloned.
Oh, yeah.
I would hope somehow somebody much smarter than us could figure out a way to prove that it is your consciousness being uploaded. If there was a way to do that for sure, I would definitely do it.
The problem is consciousness by its very nature. I mean, we can map a brain, right? We can watch brain waves and where activity's happening and these things, but knowing what a brain is doing is not the same as consciousness, right? And so consciousness itself is something that doesn't have like weight or anything to it. You can't put that in a electro spectrogram, right? And see the materials that make up a consciousness. So
I think you can. We're gonna have to talk about this in another episode.
That's another episode.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about that.
Okay.
I think maybe you can. That's a really tough one.
So let's go back to the question. If you could upload your brainwave into some kind of computer, would you do it?
If there was a way to absolutely know for certain that it was me and my perspective,
okay,
I would go so far as even sacrificing my physical body to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yep.
Huh. So in that case, I would imagine you'd even go as far as like, kind of the classic brain in a jar kind of thing. Like if you could hook up your brain to this electronic world, then your brain would live on in that way, but the rest of your body just decays.
Yeah.
Would you do it? I'm gonna tell you right now, I wouldn't.
That's a little scarier because you still have a weakness. Somebody could just go and hammer your brain jar, and you're dead.
What's stopping someone from hammering your hard drive?
Well, if you exist within the internet, you exist everywhere.
Okay.
The only thing that stops is catastrophic, systems
blackout.
Failure.
Yeah.
But even then, all it takes is somebody to power you back up again. Dang, that's a really weird question.
Yeah.
I'm 99% on the absolutely would do it. I guess there is that one shred of like, there's a lot of things that could stop me from wanting to do it.
I wouldn't do it. Well, so starting on the brain in the jar thing. Like I said, that's just, I don't know. That feels like really kind of going outside what kind of life I would want to even lead. Mm-hmm. That's putting yourself in a weird position. I don't like it. But even the computer one, I don't think I would do it, because for me, I mean, we obviously disagree on this point, but I don't think even if you could make a perfect mapping of my thoughts and things and create some sort of AI that could act like I do, I don't think it'd be me. And I wouldn't want that confusion, I don't think it would be really me, but it would be treated like me, and I don't like that. I mean, certainly from a spiritual aspect, I wouldn't think that it would have a soul, know. But I still don't think it would have true consciousness. I think it'd be mimicking it. But
what if you can prove? What if you can prove to yourself though that it is you? Like, for example,
go ahead.
Like, for example, like you plug yourself into this computer that's got a camera. You are definitely, from your own perspective, Because even if you had a clone and they were looking at you and waving at you, you're still seeing your clone for sure.
Yeah.
Your perspective is your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could plug yourself into a computer that's got a camera and the camera's pointed back at you, and you send your own brain signals basically to wave, like you just very naturally, as you would right now, pick up your hand and wave at the computer, and you see from the computer's perspective you waving back at you,
mm-hmm.
I think that would be pretty valid proof that it's your perspective and your consciousness.
Would it, or would it just be assuming what I was going to do?
Oh, man. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and even then, like...
No, it would be because you would... Because you're seeing you.
Mm-hmm.
It is still your perspective. If you would cease to see the computer,
mm-hmm.
and what you see is you waving back at the computer, then that would prove that it's your perspective.
Hmm.
In that case... would you take advantage?
I don't know if I'd accept that proof, but even
no?
let's say I accept it. Let's say I accepted
Okay.
it. As say it's a weird.
That's
thing.
a hard thing to grasp.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that for a while. But I still don't think I'd take it because even let's say we could prove it was conscious and everything, I think it would no longer be me the moment it left me. Right? I think it'd be something different. Right?
But that I think that's because you feel. Well, correct me if I'm wrong,
mm-hmm.
but you've got an extra layer of existence than I do, in the belief that there's the soul.
Definitely that.
You know, is that kind of what's informing that?
Well, that, but plus, I think just the moment we have different experience, me and this virtual person, I think it becomes a different person, right? There's, I'm, again, yeah, we're talking about this is all throughout fiction, right? I'm going to pull up another fiction example, is, there's a classic Star Trek Next Generation episode. Yeah, I love
Trek.
Where you find out that way back early in Riker's career, there was a transporter accident and he was transported right as this place was falling down, and they discovered that actually he didn't just transport there. The other transporter kicked back another version of him back on this base, and he's been living by himself for like years and years, right? So now you have two Rikers.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But they've had completely different... every experience up to that point, but then they've had a completely different experience after then.
Yeah.
And so the second Riker even takes on a different name and everything because he realizes they're not the same person anymore.
So, but he knew that he wasn't the original Riker. Or did he? I don't remember.
What was the original?
Yeah, they could both be new.
They, as an individual person, walked into a transporter. The transporter went off. Mm-hmm. You know, he got beamed up into the computer of the transporter, and then the transporter kicked him out 2 different locations.
Yeah.
So neither was the original. They were both made at the exact same moment.
What's lovely here is like I just want to celebrate humanity for a second and say, isn't it amazing that we have these like organs in our bodies so complex and amazing that they can even conceive of such crazy ideas?
Oh, I know. Oh yeah, 100%.
It is so awesome to be a human being.
No, we our ability to imagine that which we don't have experience of is incredible.
Yeah, it's just, man, it makes me well up with like pride in our, our capabilities, which is funny because we didn't do anything to earn it. It's just we were born with this wonderful. It's wonderful. I love it.
Okay. One last wrinkle that I want us to cover while we still got a little time.
Wrinkle away.
And this comes from the TV show Altered Carbon.
Okay.
I won't get into all the details, but essentially the idea is you live on forever, but essentially your consciousness is slotted into different bodies.
Yeah.
So they might be clones of yourself if you're super rich, or they might just be random bodies that might be different genders, different ages,
Yeah.
So your consciousness continues to live on, but your physical body gets changed throughout time just depending on what's available. Mm-hmm. Would you want to continue to live like that, being slotted into just random biological bodies?
So, assuming that consciousness is something that could be uploaded into this thing, right? Then, and it's our perspective remains.
Yep.
Then yes, absolutely, I would.
Really?
Yeah. Heck yeah. I mean, how cool would it be to, like, spend a lifetime as a bodybuilder for a while? You're like, you're so buff now. And you're like, oh, I could break that window with my fist if I wanted to. And then, by the time the novelty wears out and somebody offs you, you're like, dang. And then, now you're in a ninja's body. And you could be like,
like it's a ninja.
I don't know why.
What if you were really poor and got stuck into like some drug addict's body?
I mean, that's true. But that gives you license to then explore being a drug addict. The body's already destroyed, so you're like, all right, cool. I'm gonna see what heroin's all about. Let's try it out.
That's actually an interesting point, because then at that point, does anything you do to your physical body have any merit?
I guess not. When there's no ramifications, you're just gonna be swapped out. Like you could be, like, dang, I wonder what it's like to jump out of an airplane without a parachute.
Yeah,
go ahead. That sounds amazingly liberating.
Would people start to have death matches?
Yeah, or dang, would just like violence and crime all over the place just skyrocket because the stakes are so low?
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, that kind of thing would just absolutely disrupt
like the fabric of society
completely. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels so. I mean, maybe this isn't even a good argument, but for me, it feels so unnatural. Mm-hmm. It to remove create these just shells of empty humanity, and then to just slot yourself into this person or thing that was a person theoretically. It just seems so. Is icky a good word?
It's so icky. Yeah,
but,
it's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean it seems morally uncomfortable at best.
Okay.
Morally. Yeah. Because if nothing else too, it's like how can we know that these bodies that we're creating and using, I mean, some belong to a person at one point, are we robbing them of their physical body? Even the ones that like never get a chance to wake up otherwise, does that mean that they weren't a human person? Even if maybe they never had the chance to experience, say that, but I don't know.
What if there was like this like system for consenting to letting your body be used by somebody else if you pass?
Well, I mean that I guess that brings down the question. I mean that's a whole nother. I was gonna say, if you consent to something, does that make it morally okay no matter what it is? I don't know if I go that.
Question for another day.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
We'll add it to the show notes.
But yeah, I don't know. I maybe I'm too traditionalist, but it feels too going against kind of the natural order of things. And yeah, I can respect that. Socially, I think it would just cause too many issues, obviously. But clearly, I want to be me, and I want to know that I'm me.
Yeah, interesting.
Huh.
Well, clearly we see this from two very different perspectives.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
No.
I knew this was. I had a real strong sense that this was going to be a very different-sided one. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? That's okay. That's awesome, and that's what makes the world with variety and a wonderful place to live. Because there's always somebody has something interesting to say.
Absolutely. And ask questions that we each ask questions that neither of us thought of.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say for certain that I before this conversation I thought naively, I guess, that everybody would just want to do this forever. But yeah, you challenged me on a couple of those ideas, and I think I definitely see that there are some serious attitude shifts that would inevitably come from living super long or having no physical. The stakes are super low with your physical bodies.
Sure.
And certainly the idea of putting yourself into a computer. Still, I would do most of those things if I could somehow prove to myself that it's still me and my perspective. Yeah.
Well, and I get the draw, right? I totally understand that desire of wanting to continue to experience life, and experience it for, I guess, in a sense, truly what all it's worth, Yeah. It's like never leaving the all-you-can-eat buffet, right? You get to experience it forever, or even just have some version of you live on, I mean, like I said, that classic idea of the artist, or, just even as you're older, just thinking back on what am I passing on. And so I can see that becoming the ultimate version of that, of passing yourself on, you know, continuing to live and throughout this life and seeing what it has to offer. Said I don't think that's something that I would ultimately choose, but I can definitely understand the draw.
Yeah. Well, with that, this has been another episode of the Armchair Show. I hope we gave everybody some interesting mental nuggets to chew on for a little while.
Absolutely, and definitely chime in with your own thoughts and maybe different versions that you thought of, that or questions and quandaries that come with this that we didn't bring up at our email, armchairshow@gmail.com.
Yep. Well, it's been a pleasure, Jonas.
Shayne, always a pleasure.
Yeah, and to all of you guys out there, have a good one.